Hey guys, this is a clip from my interview with Ernie Bailey, where he discusses the impact Kurt Cobain's death had on his life and more. If you want to see the full interview with Ernie Bailey, it's linked below. So you started working with the Foo Fighters after the fact. Were you surprised that you got back into music? Because I've heard interviews of Dave where he said he felt he had to move on. He had to keep making music. He had to go forward. But after he needed some time off first. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think that I was probably more uncertain as to, what would happen. Well, shortly after Nirvana ended, I got a job offer to go work for the Rolling Stones as a bass tech. Bill Wyman had just left. And so I remember declining that and just thinking that, the Stones have been around forever. They've got a road crew that have been around forever. And, with Nirvana, you had this good fortune that these were your friends, and that, there's not a lot of pressure on you, in that way. So this would be going to work for a really big band with kind of a hardened road crew where you'd be the new person, and you've just gone through something that you're just not emotionally prepared to do much of anything, make breakfast. So, so I remember after that year had passed after Kurt was gone, it was really difficult. And part of it is this experience of somebody who is in your circle being a public figure who passes. It's really unlike, anything else because, I, at the time, it's one of those things where it's no secret that you work for this band. Most of your friends know this, and a lot of people around you know this. Well, something like this happens, and even though this isn't somebody that all your friends work with or know on a first-hand basis, their losses are real as well. They've lost somebody that they were, they paid attention to, and somebody that they enjoy. And the first thing they feel like they need to do is to reach out to you and to connect. And so a normal process is, if you were to lose somebody in your circle, probably nobody knows it unless you announce it or share it with somebody. So often we'll go to work and we'll get lost in our work as a way to process this. And you might have a friend at this work that you enjoy talking to and getting their perspective with. And so I think, in a typical scenario, you would share these things and you would sort of dole out your grief according to your readiness, if you're prepared to. But this is something where you're just being inundated with, usually the lead-in was like, hey, I've been thinking about you. How you doing? It's like, oh, pretty good. Well, I can't stop thinking about it. You're like, oh, okay. Here we go again. And it was just a constant. It was over and over and over. And so it was just something that you really couldn't escape. And so I remember after a year when Dave called up, I knew that he had the Foo Fighter, project rolling, and he said, hey, we're going to get in a van and go on tour in a couple of days. You want to just jump in and just go? And it was just nearly an impulsive decision, but it was like, yeah, let's go. I just want to get out of here. And it was the best thing you could have ever done. It was just to get out of your life for a minute, to get out of Seattle and to get out of your routine and just get in the van and just go. And we were productive again and doing something new. And it was fantastic. And I think the only thing that was sort of bizarre was that where we couldn't fully escape was that every night we were looking at people in the front row, and a good number of them were wearing a shirt with Kurt's face staring at you all night. And so you couldn't completely, get lost in this thing, which is fine.
That's crazy. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it. It's been 26 years. Are the feelings still as raw as they were back then, or how do you deal with it now?
No, in fact, but the funny thing is that they took a really long time, and it was probably about 5 years ago that I realized you were finally at a point where it didn't really affect you in the same way that it did for a long time. And that was when this idea of this abnormality about, how we, typically, I think, throughout life when somebody passed on, there was this natural process where, just this loss of their presence, and eventually, with the way that memory works and keeping things around, you would begin to lose these details of people, and they would eventually fade, into the past, and you would move forward. Well, this is one where, constantly you go into the grocery store and you'd see, a magazine on the rack, and you're just like, wow, and it was just weekly. And so it was something where I think that in some ways, Kurt changed from being just like a person that you knew to something that's he's now like a legendary person. He's something that's he's just nothing like what you understood it to be. And so, and it really sort of like crosses the line to where what you remember is so far gone, and you can just not relate at all to what other people are thinking and feeling.
I hear you. With someone like Kurt, I mean, I was speaking with Alice Wheeler a little while back, and she told me that, Kurt was a very good friend of hers, and when she would hear people like on the TV or radio talking about him like he was this sort of god figure, it kind of bothered her because, yes, he was super famous, but he was a person at the end of the day. In your opinion, what is the biggest misperception of Kurt that there is out there?
I don't know the answer to that because I don't know that I have an understanding of how the mainstream views him. So, I guess I can kind of take a guess that, that he's sort of seen as this perfect product. But yeah, he was a guy who was really good at his job, and he wrote amazing songs. He knew how to sing, and he knew how to be an entertainer. So I guess I sort of view him as that. He's like one of those people who was really exceptional at what he did.
Ernie, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. This was wonderful. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with me.
Yeah, thank you for treating it with care and for understanding that too, because it is, it's a weird thing, and it's something that I think you understand you have to harden yourself to it in order to process it. It was an incredibly strange experience. Truth is so much greater than fiction, especially in this thing. The reality of it, of this experience was so unlike anything I'd ever imagined.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this interview clip of mine with Ernie Bailey, make sure to subscribe for more because there is a lot more coming. Everything on my channel is 100% original. I'm the one conducting all the interviews and doing all the editing. So if you want to support me, the best way to do so is simply to subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.